Welcome in.
Let's get to work.
The fastest growing sports spectacular. It's the Big E Sports Show. Your 1 hour comprehensive expose of all things in the sports universe. With a focus on some of the biggest sports icons on the planet. Now, here's your host, the one and only award-winning Elissa Walker Campbell.
Hey, Elissa Walker Campbell, I want to welcome you back to the Big E Sports Show. And the NBA season is heating up as teams make their final push towards the playoffs. We have already seen some incredible moments this year. On Tuesday, how about Miami Heat star Bam Adebayo stunned the basketball world with that incredible 83-point performance, the second highest scoring game in NBA history. And joining us now to talk about that performance, the NBA playoff picture, and reflect on his incredible career in the league is NBA legend and longtime coach Lionel Hollins. Lionel, it's good to have you back on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure and a privilege.
Well, when you saw Bam Adebayo score that 83 points, what was your initial reaction? What did you think, Coach?
I started thinking about the other team. The coach got fired for telling his team in college that they didn't deserve to wear the uniform, and he took the names off the back, and the AD fired him. I think that the Washington Wizards should have taken the name of their players off the back of the jersey when Bam Adebayo gets 43 free throws in a game. I understand the making of the three, and I understand scoring, but I mean, from the flip side, you know, they were up by such a large amount, and they were missing shots and free throws so that he could get the points. And, you know, all the more power to him. It's painted. You know, whenever you go outside of the norm to score like that or to get a triple-double, for me, it's painted. You know, you manufacture it. It didn't come organically. What is a Bam average? You know, not that many points in a season. I mean, when Will did his 100-point game, I think he was averaging crazy amount, 50 points or something like that. So you could see him going and exceeding that. So when, you know, the other way, you just worry about those things. But it's for the fans, and they're entertained by it. So I'm not mad at it, not at all. But you know, you look at the extraordinary significance of it, and you put him up there with Will Chamberlain and Kobe Bryant. I'm not ready to do that. He had a spectacular game, but Kobe and Will were doing things on a regular basis, night in and night out. So for one of them to do what they did, rates higher and puts it on a different perspective than just, you know, having one of those nights that, you know, you didn't wake up from your dream and it happened in reality.
You know, Lionel, as someone who has played and coached in the NBA, how rare is a performance like that? Obviously, I mean, Bam was getting a ton of touches and he was converting, but that is pretty special to light it up and have 83 points.
No question about it. I mean, I'm not taking nothing away from, you know, that. I look at the defense and those types of things and the score and you know, I temper my excitement about it, but I still, you got to give the guy his due for what he did.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, you could put some people in a gym for a month and they couldn't get 83 points. So he made the shots, he made the free throws, he did what he did. And you got to give him his kudos for that.
You are listening to The Voice, Lionel Hollins, NBA legend and coach. And we talk about Bam Adebayo, but we got to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And how about SGA? He continues to rewrite the record books with his streak of a consecutive 20-point games. What do you think, Lionel, has allowed him to consistently be so dominant night in and night out for the Thunder?
Well, he never gets out of his pace. He plays at his own pace. He can score at the bucket for incredible finishes, floaters, what have you. He scores from mid-range and he scores from three. His major offensive thrust is from the mid-range, and he's just deadly. I mean, he's this little shoulder bump, step back, and he's such a good ball handler. And then he'll run the court and score layups. I mean, a lot of scorers only want the ball in their hands to score, but he does it in every way you can imagine. And he also shares the ball with his teammates.
That's true.
He's a good teammate. That's why they won the championship. He's a finisher. He's a closer, but he allows those other guys to play. And Lou Dort, I don't know if Lou Dort would get very many shots. SGA didn't pass him the ball. I see him pass the ball to him. He's like, well, he's the only guy that was open. And, SG finds him. And he's just a brilliant player and, young player to be that poised. And you have to talk about him in the same vein as the new guys coming on scene. Everybody talks about Wemby and what he does. But what my man is doing in OKC is pretty incredible. I mean, and you talk about, Luka and KD and some of the guys, Kawhi, step back up, Booker. Those guys are all special players. But SG, to me, is a cut above because he's led his team all the way to a championship.
Well, from a coach's perspective, when a player like an SGA is on a historic run, and I mean, how do opposing defenses, how do you game plan for someone that continues to have that sustained level of success and is producing night in and night out?
Part of his success is the fact that he has good teammates around him. I mean, you can't just take the ball out of his hands because those guys will either put it on the floor and drive and get somebody else a good shot, or it comes back to SGA after you've doubled it. And also, they make threes. They make shots. I mean, when he was out, they were playing at a high level. They play hard. They play together. And they know how to get to the paint and get the ball back out. They'll come down the court fast. If they don't have a quick shot that's good, they keep playing. Out of what San Antonio Spurs used to do when Pop was there and they were winning championships. They would sprint. If you didn't get back, they scored. If you got back, they would just keep you moving and chasing the ball until they got the best shot possible. And that's what allows him to be so consistent because he doesn't have to dominate and take on 2 or 3 people every night in order to be successful. And then he rarely has those nights where he's shooting a low shooting percentage. And that's important too, because when you're the leading scorer and you're taking, an unbelievable amount of shots, it's hard for you to keep that up when they come in double team. And it's hard to win at the same time. So that's the most impressive thing, is that not only does he share the ball and still get his numbers, but they're winning on top of it. So everything he does is an impact towards them winning.
You are listening to the Voice NBA legend and coach, and that is Lionel Hollins, joining us this weekend on the Big E Sports Show. We always love to connect with our audience. Check us out on X or Twitter, and that is at E Radio Sports. Here we are talking about Bam Adebayo and SGA with the Oklahoma City Thunder, this incredible amount of success. Let's talk about the offensive talent that we're seeing in the NBA today. What does this say about just these incredible players?
Well, I think that the game is opened up a lot. There's not as much structure. There's not a bevy of plays that are being run, and there's coaches aren't standing up and calling sets. Guys are just playing, and coaches are doing a decent job of teaching them how to play on the move, how calling a play. And that takes unselfishness. And so you got to give some of these young players, I look at Antonio and their unselfishness.
The ball, the way they play, those are the types of things that make it easy to score a lot of points. With the 3-point line being that much more of a factor. I mean, when his 3-point line came in, I think in 78 when I was playing, I think it was only used if you were down 10, 15 points at the end of the game and you try to shoot a bunch of threes to get back in the game. But now it's a vital part of the game, and it's an exciting part of the game, and especially when you make it. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are shooting the three, really well. I mean, I'm looking at SGA, and the guy shoots, 55% from the field. You look at Wembanyama, he's shooting 50% from the field.
Incredible.
36 from the three. Yeah, he's shooting 38. I mean, that serves up high numbers. And if you're playing with a high rate of pace, that's going to help as well.
Well, and, Lionel, the modern NBA, it seems like, it's become increasingly, you're talking about jacking up shots, perimeter oriented. How do you see that style evolving? Because back in the day, in the 80s, and it was down low where it was happening.
Well, it's just a different way of looking at it. I mean, back in that time, a lot more polished, finished big guys were playing. And, so you played through them. The game was a little bit slower because of that. But I played in the 70s with the Portland Trailblazers, and we had a down low guy. We had 2 of them, and we still ran. That was our style. But when we needed buckets, we went inside. The Lakers with Showtime, they ran, but when they needed to slow the ball down and use some clock, they were able to do it with Kareem. Some of these teams aren't able to play at a slower pace or slow it down. They'll still come down and take quick shots, which lends itself to the big comebacks and the big swings and scoring. And then if you miss a lot of threes in a row and you keep taking them, that allows the other team to get back in the game too. So it's a lot going on that has changed the game. And, not everybody likes it, but it's still fun basketball. And I just think that you have to pick what you like.
Hey, you talk about some fun basketball. Let's be reflective. You just mentioned it. You and Bill Walton were teammates on the 77 championship Portland Trail Blazers team. So what made the two of you work so well together on the court during that just incredible and historic season?
Well, I think, first of all, we had great intelligence. And that's what I think San Antonio has. That's what you see SGA had. OKC, Denver Nuggets when they were winning. It takes intelligence to play a brand of ball where everybody touches the ball. You got to know when to shoot, when not to shoot, when to pass, when to dribble. And when you have a multitude of guys like that, you can play this up tempo and skill set. Everybody can't run down the court and kick the ball ahead to a guy that can't make the right play at the end of that or can't shoot the open shot at the end of that. You have to play a different style. That was the beginning of our team. We had great toughness. We played great defense, and then Bill leading the league in shot blocking and Lucas coming and helping with the shot blocking and the rebound, and we outlet and everybody ran. And nobody could keep up with our quickness for that year or the next year when we started out 50-10. Unfortunately, the injuries got part of it. It took a big part of our game away. But the reality is that, to me, it's not age. We were the youngest team to win the NBA championship. OKC was right there on our heels this past year. It's about the talent, how well they play together, how tough they are, how they understand and how to play and think the game. Because ultimately, that's what's going to lead you to winning. Because every step you go up in the ladder in the playoffs, the teams get better. The talent becomes more equal. Who can make adjustments on the fly when a coach says, we're going to do this here, rather than having to call a timeout and draw it up? Those things really matter in the heat of a battle when two great teams are going at it.
Well, what really matters, too, is Bill Walton. I mean, what a unique skill set that he had as a passing big man. Because, and I just have to wonder, as a guard playing alongside him, how did his ability to see the floor 2 and 3 plays ahead change the way you approach the game?
Well, everybody gives the kudos to the latest, greatest big man that can pass. But, there's been a lot of big basketball, and it's about a willingness to pass and when to make those passes. I think that Bill in the half court was dominating as a passer. Every time the ball went in the post, you could slow cut to a quick cut and get a ball back, and he's going to make that pass, and you were going to have a layup. And he knew how to fake that pass and turn and get his own shot if you tried to lay off as his defender. So the ability to pass and the ability to know when to make those passes, when to turn them down, and just see. I mean, a lot of times big guys are getting the ball and they're just putting it on the floor and bouncing it. He would get the ball and look for the cutters. And while you're worried about cutters, he would go make a move. And now you can't double team him. And I think those are the things that made him special. And just his ability to change shots, not just block shots, but to change shots like Wemby does. Like some of the great shot blockers that have played, They don't block every shot, but you know that they're there and you're trying to get it up off that glass as quick as you can, or you're trying to throw it up with extra arc, which throws off your ability to make the shot a lot of times. So he was just a great player. Actually, injuries hampered his career, but he won the 6-man award with the Celtics and won a championship there. We almost had 2. So it's it's great to play with him, and it was great to play with all those guys. And it was a beautiful time, and we bonded, and we still are good friends.
Yeah. What was Bill Walton like as a teammate? And just talk a little bit about as far as just his personality, his persona, and how that influenced the culture and the chemistry with the Trailblazers team.
Well, he was one of the hard workers. He and I worked out in the summertime, and we would run up to a mountain, and then we'd go lift weights, and then we'd go play basketball after that. And we did this every day. And he worked really hard on the court. So I always say when your best player works like that, he's going to be a great leader because he can tell everybody else they're not working. If you don't work hard every day, you can't tell anybody that they're not working. And he was that kind of guy. He would give you the shirt off his back. If you were his friend, he would do anything for you. He would help you in any way he could. And there was many people that stayed at his house in San Diego. I stayed at his house in San Diego when I got traded to the Clippers from Philadelphia. I stayed with him for almost 3 months because I didn't have a place yet. And he just said, take one of my bedrooms, come live in my house. And there was other people that lived there as well. And he just fosters community and teamwork and togetherness because he was unselfish. And that part of him is what made the culture. Now, who he was as a person off the court, he loved it. The Grateful Dead, he loved to play the guitar, the clothes and the long hair and all of that stuff. That was him as well, but he matured and grew out of that phase later on. He still cared about people. He still cared about the community and helping people who didn't have. But he became a little less visible in his attire and his protesting. But he still did great work for other people.
Coach Hollins, when you reflect on your journey from winning an NBA championship in '77 to just your long, illustrious career as a coach, what message would you share with young players today about what it really takes to succeed and last in the NBA?
Well, first of all, you got to be committed year to year, month to month, because it's a long, drawn-out season. And every summer, you got to commit yourself to working, not just shooting, but to stay in tip-top shape. And I think a lot of players are doing that. That's why we're seeing so many players are playing into their late 30s and into their 40s because they are committing to it. But you got to be passionate about it. And it's something that once you lose the mental part of it, you're not going to do the physical part of it. And I think that's what happened in the old days. There was so much toughness to play. You're traveling by plane, you're riding in coach for less than 2 hours, you're staying after our game and having to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to get the first flight out, and all the bad weather and having to lay around airports all day. And then you're playing. We played stretches of 3 in a row. We played a stretch of 6 games in 8 days, and we're playing from one coast to the other, and we're going back and forth across coast, and it wears on you. And at some point, physically, due to injuries, you can't do it. And also mentally, you just get tired of that work. And I think that's why you see gymnasts and swimmers and people who start really young and the commitment that they have to make to stay on top, eventually just say, we're done at a young age. And I think that now money is helping a lot for people to stay committed. And now there's more players that have their own workout people that they pay to take care of them, their own nutritionist, their own chef. So things have changed. But for me, it was the camaraderie. It was the dream that I had to play and the passion that I had for competing. And those things are the things that stick with me. And the journey that you take to grow and learn who you are as a person. It's not just basketball, but that whole journey through my career as a player taught me that I was not just about basketball, but I had intelligence. I had good decision making. I had character and integrity. And you grow those things as you come up through that journey as well. But you also understand that is more important about who you are versus what you do. And then going into coaching was just like playing. I mean, I couldn't play, but I could certainly lend how I saw the game should be played to younger players. I could also teach them lessons and help them on their journey to finding who they are and developing the maturity and all that it takes to be a productive human being outside of playing the game, because the game ends at some point and you go into other walks of life. And one thing I learned is I knew that when I quit, I went back to school after 10 years to get my degree, but I knew I was going to get it because all the skills that it took to be successful in sport were the same skills it was going to take to be successful in the classroom and finish my work and get my degree.
Hey, we are winding down our time with the great Lionel Hollins. Just for all of our listeners, tell us, your home base is Memphis. What are you doing now? Philanthropic work? Talk to us, Coach.
I am. I'm president of a nonprofit organization called Heal the Hood.
Nice.
I'm also on the board of directors for the Retired Players Legends, the Retired Players Association, which are called the Legends of Basketball. I was just elected to that board during the All-Star Week.
Oh, congratulations.
And so I'm also as I said, I do speaking. I do clinics for coaches. I go to camps and speak. I speak to organizations about how to be a leader, a servant leader, because, we're all blessed with gifts from God. We all can be leaders, but we have to do it a certain way where we're helping other people become leaders as well. We're also helping the people by serving them. When you're in charge, you're serving. You're not above anybody. You're below, pushing these people up from the bottom. And it's important that we give back, not only financially, but our time, and contributing to young people who are coming along that need a hand, that need some support, need some encouragement, need some inspiration.
Absolutely, and pay it forward. Well, my final question for you is, as we move towards the playoffs next month that get underway April 18th, the play-in tourney starts the 14th through the 17th. What has stood out to you the most from this NBA season so far?
Well, I think the different teams, there's a changing of the guard a little bit. You look at the Pistons, who were down in the dumps for a number of years. All of a sudden, they're one of the top teams, right? And you look at a team like Orlando is coming up. You look at San Antonio, which has been down in the dumps, is coming up. Houston has been down in the dumps and coming up. And then you have some teams that have made some strides, but they seem to be stuck in neutral. Like Minnesota seems to me like they're stuck in neutral. And, the Knicks are moving up a little bit. But then you turn around and you look at Miami, they're stuck in neutral. They've had their culture and they've had similar players, but they haven't been able to leapfrog that middle of the pack and jump up and go deep into playoffs. I just marvel at the new guys, the young guys that are in the league, and how well they're playing all around the league. You just name a team, there's somebody. As I said, Cade Cunningham is just a fantastic player. You look at Philadelphia with Maxey. Guy is fantastic. And one of the things that stood out too is there's so many Kentucky guards in the league.
Okay.
It's crazy. They're all really good.
Yeah.
Well, the Calipari.
There you go. That's right. Well, listen, this has been a true pleasure, and we just enjoyed listening to your perspective from both playing and the coaching side of the NBA, and just giving us this unique view of the game. Continued success, and we look forward to another conversation real soon. Thank you so much, Lionel.
Thank you, and I appreciate having me on, and I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.